Welcome everybody to the Go Grava channel. Now, I haven't made a video in a while because I have been tremendously busy here in the Grava bike shop in Reading, Pennsylvania. March and April have been very, very busy for me, and we'll get into that. But I made this video specifically on a delay, or I waited to make this video because I'm going to gloat a little bit. And we're going to get into the I told you so on my predictions that I thought these tariffs, this thing was going to happen 2 years ago. I actually seen this coming. We're also going to talk about how was March, just how many service tickets I did, why that's a fantastic thing, and then will I ever know everything there is to know about fixing and building bikes? Because I'm questioning that at the moment. And will I have enough tools, ever have enough tools? And lastly, where are we going in the future? What does the future hold, or what is my newest forecast for the summer of 2025 and what I see happening? So let's get into it. So I'm going to be perfectly honest here. These last 2 years, I've had quite a few people tell me I'm completely out of my mind. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to my ideas behind tariff problems that are occurring, or trade wars that have been experiencing. I've held off making a video about this specifically because I wasn't sure if I was right, to tell you the truth. And not that I have any really concrete solutions, but there could have been solutions 2 years ago if you saw what I saw. Now, coming back from Germany to live in the United States, we saw inflation was completely out of control. Like, I had no idea how bad it was. And that in turn led to the new administration that we have in, because, you know, probably 60–70% of working Americans are not doing well at all. And with that, I estimated that that was going to happen. And I estimated that with that administration, because there were previous acts before, tariffs were going to be a thing, and we were probably going to have some sort of trade war coming up in the future. Specifically with China, I didn't know it would be a blanket thing. And with that, I went to South America, tried to see what was available in Latin America for bicycle parts and things like that. And the truth of the matter is, most things are made in Asia. I can get frames, no problem, but, you know, parts and pieces and things like that, it's difficult to source those in the United States, because everything we have in cycling when it comes to e-bikes, e-scooters, is all from Asia. And yes, I'm going to take a second here to gloat, because you would not believe how many people messaged me privately or commented that I was completely out of my mind and I had no idea what I was talking about. I got that from a lot of individuals that had no idea what I was talking about. And I have to tell you that at 51 years old, and a person who has spent a lifetime in predictive analysis, whether it's meteorology, oceanography, intelligence, geopolitics, things like that, like, I have a very good idea of what's happening in the world. Now, if you had told me one thing I missed recently is I had no idea that the global dollar shortage that we were experiencing was going to spike the 10-year bond rate. I had kind of forgotten about that, but there is a global dollar shortage, and a global euro dollar shortage specifically. And I won't get into all of the economics behind that specifically, because it gets very complex, like bond yield rates and currency reserves and central bank narratives and things like that. But we won't get into that. But specifically, I told you this was coming, and now we have two immovable forces battling each other. The leader of the United States and the leader of China are immovable objects at this moment, and we have to see what happens, because at this moment, I think we're looking at 124% total tariff goods coming in from China, and that is going to have an impact. What kind of impact? Well, let's talk about what I'm hearing from different suppliers. So what I'm hearing from different suppliers is the price of all of this stuff that we're looking at in my store is going to go up. That's almost every single supplier has told me that it's all going up. Prices are going to be increasing, because a lot of these components and parts and pieces are all made in China or Vietnam or Taiwan to some extent, with the exception of the Blaupunk e-bike down here, which is made in Paraguay. Probably one of the few companies that went to South America to do manufacturing, and their prices may not go up. Blaupunk saw that coming, and but you know, there's still components on here like shifters and Tektro brake levers and things like that that are not coming from Paraguay. It's just frames and assembly of some sorts. So with that said, what do we expect in the future? Well, I'll tell you at the end of the video when I get through a couple of these other things about March. So in the month of March, I looked at I think running through my shop, I did 85 service tickets. I counted up. It was just over 80 repairs. And we're running on that 30-40-30 ratio I talked about earlier, which is 30% acoustic, regular bikes, 40% e-bikes, 30% scooters. And that other 40-30 at the end there is what's keeping me running, really. There's just not enough bike work because when you open a bike shop, and it's very competitive here, there's quite a few bike shops in my area in Reading, Pennsylvania and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. This is a huge biking area. It gets very competitive, and people who ride bicycles already have the bike shop that they like going to. What we offer differently, and it's kind of niche, is we do teardowns, complete teardowns of motors. We have figured that out. We have figured out how to program our own controllers. We have figured out how to build our own e-bikes. We have gone through and figured out how to rebuild scooters, swap batteries, all of those things. A tremendous investment of time, 6 to 8 months of investment to get there. And I was going to do some classes, I guess, on YouTube for free on how to do all this stuff, but I've changed my mind on that. I don't want to take all this hard work that we put into this shop and give away our competitive edge. And so I will not be making videos on how to do any of this e-scooter stuff or e-bike stuff. Maybe in the future I'll make courses on how you could do all these things, and you can purchase them, but that goes same with marketing. I was going to do classes on how to effectively, so I have experience working with marketing teams at big corporate organizations, doing global marketing, national marketing. Local marketing is very different. But I cracked the nut on that. My marketing is really a fine-tuned machine now. I invested probably anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000, and maybe I'm giving away too much information with just that number, but I'm not going to do classes on marketing either, how to market your bike shop, because I am noticing that people who own bike shops around me are watching the YouTube video, and I don't want to give away my competitive edge, because there's a certain way you have to do your multi-channel marketing, and there's a certain budget you have to have, and there's this very specific way to do it. And it took me, again, an entire year to get drilled down into what was actually working in my local market and what was driving people through my door, significant numbers of people through my door, and how I maximize that. So again, if I was ever going to make a YouTube video about marketing or anything like that, it would be a membership video of some sort. It'd be a paid for thing, because why? Well, nobody's offering free marketing advice to me. Everybody wants to have me pay them for marketing. So yeah, I'm not going to give away my competitive edge in that aspect either. But I could tell you most marketing companies probably are not doing it right for your bike shop. To a certain extent, and yeah, I was amazed when things started clicking over, but it does take an investment of time in marketing. All the multi-channels, you got to be active in them constantly to keep people aware of your brand and your location and where you're at. So the next topic is, will I ever know everything there is to know about fixing and repairing bicycles? I am questioning that right now. So to a certain extent, it really does seem like I run into new problems every single day that I've never experienced before. And I thought I would have a level of mastery within the first 6 months, and that is completely not true. So this level of mastery, probably as a result of me not having it yet, is because I am doing e-scooters, e-bikes, regular acoustic bikes, which is what I'm calling them now, acoustic. and I'm doing shock service and dropper work and things like that. Like this most recent shock, it's a Stepcast 32 from Fox running a Fit 4 damper. Tremendous amount of problems putting this together. I was missing a tool, or actually had a tool break, which was just the bleed syringe for this fork. And then as I'm assembling this damper, the rebound knob here snapped off. So again, I'm digging through manuals and stuff on the Fox website to figure out how to fix these things. And it just feels like my level of expertise is just never, I'm just running into new things every single day. And I don't know how long it takes. Maybe this is where you get into the point where you get a general understanding and then you hire people to professionalize themselves within certain areas. Like I don't do the electronic stuff, the other Aaron does, engineer Aaron does. He doesn't do shocks, I do shocks. We both work on bikes. And yeah, I don't know that I'll ever be there. And then the same thing is tools. Tools seem to be a never-ending thing that the engineers that are creating new bike components and parts are constantly re-engineering. I don't know how to say it. I am just so tired of buying tools. I don't know. Starting a bike shop, I figured there was going to be like a $10,000 tool expense. And good Lord, it's way more than that. Like if you want to get into complex situations and serve multiple avatars or multiple customer profiles, it gets tremendously expensive. Now, I think it is the way of the future. I think diversifying is the way of the future, even though some things may be working for you better than others at the moment. But I think diversification and getting into just pure mobility and a mobility shop and creating an expert level of service is the road forward for all these things, because if I was just relying on bike work or shock work, it would not have held up my shop. So tools, maybe I'll be done at some point buying tools, but then you break tools and you got to replace them. So tools is a constant expense that I did not think was going to be that expensive. So lastly, where do I think things are going here in the future? So I've hinted at this before in previous videos about a bike shortage or supplier parts shortage or something like that. What we have going on is we're going to have price increases on bikes and price increases on parts. That's coming. I don't see any way around that. And I do expect de minimis, if it hasn't already been changed, de minimis is going to change significantly. And the de minimis rule is specifically the rule around anything under $800 shipped into the United States from overseas doesn't have to pay tariffs and things like that. It's a way for companies to get around paying tariffs and stuff just by either drop shipping. Like, have you ever bought anything from Amazon and you don't get any tracking data? It just says shipped, and then all of a sudden it shows up in California. That's because that item was out of Amazon, drop shipped out of China, and then moved to the United States to come in. I think that de minimis rule gets pretty much killed here in the future, which is going to take out AliExpress, Temu, Shein, and and this is probably where a lot of the hate coming to my channel and the private messages of people messaging me saying that I'm an idiot, I don't know what I'm talking about, is coming from, is because I understand there's people's livelihoods at stake here. There's a lot of people that do international drop shipping, which is basically you just stand up a website or you stand up a Amazon store, and then somebody buys something from you, and then you just have a way to ship that directly from China or Vietnam or whatever to the United States, and you don't have to pay, you're not paying all those tariff fees and things like that. But that's going to change. I believe that loophole is going to get closed down completely closed down. And that means you can't go to AliExpress to buy the cheaper stuff like Microshift or L2 systems and things like that. They're going to have to set up companies in the United States and figure that out to some extent. But de minimis is going to change, prices are going to go up, and then all this disruption we've had, let's say from mid-January to now, is going to have a supply shock effect. Because companies, what I'm seeing from the different companies that I work with, some of them, not all of them, but a decent amount of them that have done one of two things. They've either stocked inventory, they've boosted their stock, which I've seen that for different bikes or supply parts, knowing that there was tariffs coming, so they predicted that. So there'll be a decent amount of supply coming in. But if tariffs hold, they're going to raise the prices on those goods before the tariff actually hits. Because what would happen to you as a business is if you had all of this stuff in a warehouse and you need to ship replacement parts to support bike shops like me, you're going to end up with a container that has $1 million tariff on top of it. So you need to start collecting those tariff fees before you get to that point of paying $1 million tariff on a couple of containers that land in LA, Long Beach, or wherever you're bringing them in. And so prices are going to go up, and they're going to probably go up sooner than people think. I mean, I would. If I was a CEO of a company or a CFO, COO within the executive suite running a company, I would start looking at the items that I know are going to be going up in price, and I would have to raise prices on those items. And then me as a bike shop, I'm just going to pass that on to the consumer because there's nothing else I can do. I personally can't take the hit in the bike shop. There's a certain margin I need to survive, and I'm just going to raise the prices. Now, the bicycles I have in the shop, and this is something to take note of, I'm not going to raise the prices on those. Now, my sales prices are going to be done, and that's what we're going to see too, is we're going to see sales prices going to zero. No more sales. It's going to be more difficult for Bikes Online or any of your clearance house places that you have online to sell these bikes because we're going to start running out of them. So Giant has a great clearance sale going on, and I would take advantage of that now. If you're interested in a bike, I'd take advantage of it now for sure. So with that said, that's my predictions coming up. This is where I think we're going. I think we're going to run into a supply shock. We're going to run out of bicycles, and that will be, I think, my final prediction for 2025, because I don't see these two immovable objects stopping. So with that said, everybody, thanks for watching. And until I make another video, who knows? I'm getting so busy, it's hard to try to find time to fit in. So talk to you soon. Bye.